I made a hole for you back there. I'm going to buy this.
Well, thank you.
Hi, I'm George the Antique Nomad. Come with me as I wander the country in search of valuable vintage, amazing antiques, and cool collectibles. We'll buy, sell, and trade at antique malls, shops, and shows, estate sales, flea markets, thrift stores, anywhere people go to find really interesting things that just aren't made anymore. So come on, let's go!
So here we are at Rusty Chandelier and the Jesse James Antique Mall. You see a little portrait of Jesse James in the lower left there. He was a celebrated criminal in his time and has definitely become synonymous with daring do in the Old West, although frankly, he would have just as soon robbed this place as had his name on it. The West definitely is the theme in western Missouri. It's interesting because this place originally was referred to as Little Dixie because a lot of Southern sympathizers moved to this area, including Jesse James. This place is pretty big, and interestingly enough, the aisles are named for the people related to the Jesse James gang, including Bob Ford, who shot Jesse James in an attempt to get amnesty in 1882 right here in St. Joseph. We'll show you that place. I always like the blue Delphite, and I'm surprised that more people aren't collecting it. I feel like this is a color that is a safe color. Men and women both seem to like blue, and so oftentimes you'll see that in married couples' houses. This is Shawnee from the late 50s and early 60s when they were doing modernism. I am Red Wing. Well, yes, you are. I have this piece. There's this $20. That's about what mine is. This little piece here is Blanco with this pinch. Mine was a generation older, but I had the little metal cash register as a child as well. Authentic NCR. I don't think it's really authentically NCR, do you? One nice thing about when people group things by colors is sometimes they just put things randomly in the middle. This would be a great perfume bottle, but that looks like it has been filed down. That's too bad. That really jumped out at me. Oh, my neighbor is Tilla in Florida. How cute. Atlantic City, 1906. Yellowware and spatterware was made by all sorts of companies, really from as far back as the early 1800s, so there's lots of pieces that are not necessarily possible to identify. This one is thick and heavy and has a very thick glaze, so that's likely to be earlier, before 1900. This piece for its size is heavy, but it's not super heavy, and the glaze is a little less thick on the bottom, and that makes me think this is early 1900s. Prices are pretty good on these. I see a lot in the 25 to 30 range. This one's a little more unusual because it has a pour off for either side, so probably used as a gravy separator, $34.50. This piece doesn't have a lot of wear, which concerns me a bit because it's a form I haven't seen before in this, and when you see something that is not something you're used to, it does pay to do a little research, so I'll look into that. It could be a great piece in a sleeper, or it could be a recent production that I haven't seen. Opalescent glass from the 1910s is really beautiful and not very expensive, and especially here. This is Jefferson. Very pretty. Very strong pattern. $17.50. Only $14.50 for this ruffled piece, which I think is Northwood. I need to learn my patterns better. No, this is also Jefferson. Okay. I could stand to bone up on my pattern glass a little bit more. There's great references about it, and I've always just relied on them, but it seems that this is Jefferson's Tokyo, which is different than Northwood's, and this, they say, is also Jefferson. I like this very much with interwoven circles, ruffles and rings, they refer to it as, and it's $21.50. So if you like milk glass or you like the glow of it, but you want something a little less heavy, 1910s vintage opalescent glass is really well priced right now. Neat old metal wash tub here. I like the industrial wheel mold too, that's pretty cool. This tray with the nude dancer for only $12.50. Absolutely a 1930s piece. Not that it would be fantastically valuable, but the fact that deco's coming back makes me think that you could make money on that piece. I wish it was not hung in these metal wires though. Look what it does to it. You can see scrapes. This is why you should never use these. They can put too much pressure with this spring on glass pieces and actually cause cracking. So there are other things that you can buy that come out as a ledge that you can set a piece on. So please get rid of the springs. I'm listed on Craigslist. Well, that's helpful, at least if it sells, then they'll know to take it off. And it might. $145 is not a bad price, even these days. These nicer wall clocks that have a little bit more style seem like they're holding that value. This is an interesting piece that looks Persian to me. Not an area of great expertise, but an area I'm finding more and more interesting because it's something different and there is a lot of handwork. And of course our relations with that part of the world have changed drastically, so access is a different thing now. At $55 there could well be room in it. In fact, I'm sure if you specialized in such things you would absolutely buy that. The funny Jim Beam cat and the chess pieces are among the few that have a chance of selling, as do World's Fair related. So for everything we talk about, even Beanie Babies, there's always a few exceptions to every rule, which is why if you want to make money in this business, you have to spend lots of time looking at everything. This is cool. This is for a bachelor to press their ties in about 1930. Or a bachelorette, I suppose. However, I'm not sure what you would use that for today. The blue train car is old, it's stamped tin, and it's missing a wheel, which is too bad. $30 was a pretty fair price otherwise. Seems like there's got to be a space like this in every mall now, but I do see one sign that has a little bit of vintage, and it's $25, which is about right. And it's no big whoop. So, a little bit of older Fiesta there. This is a cute display. The little doll there looks like she's wise beyond her years. Cool cigarettes. This is kind of neat. And they want $24. Well, I like those. Pre-Surgeon General warning pieces from the countertops, but I've already got one that I need to sell. We used to see so many more of these 1930s carafes everywhere. Various California makers primarily. This one looks like it might be, with that ring, gosh, I'm not sure, maybe Garden City. And then these are Metlocks, 1930s pastel with the nice deco pattern, and they want $65 for 6, which is a fair price. People didn't dishwash, so those wood handles were not destroyed. Well, I'm going to try not to interrupt the folks while they're working on their space, but they do a very nice job putting it together, and they get a lot in a small area because they keep it pretty organized. And they have something I want right here. So I'm going to take that away. I made a hole for you back there. I'm going to buy this.
Well, thank you.
Okay, so here they have little rods and you put an area between for your stuff, so I've got my stuff. Yes, the fact that they invited me to make a larger pile means they're willing to work with me on price, which is nice too. So I'll let them get a few more things out and then we'll come back and see what else they have. Big stovetop hat. Here's an old Toronado promotional car. I'm hoping to get a big collection of promotional cars from a friend of mine in Seattle. This one has a flat tire and a little chunk out of the right front corner, so those are negatives on those. We really want perfection with those. I sold my big Whitehall crock last year, and here's a little one priced at $85. So there are collectors. $29 on celluloid Santa. If it didn't have that crack right there, darn. This is one of the few figures by Francoma done by W. Stone, very close to the end of their production. They're actually rather scarce, and for $6 I have to buy that. Oh my, I'm sure she's unclad. Or not a she. It's a shame this says it's as is. I believe them because it's very pretty. It's a great color of green, and it's only $150. It'd be nice if it was something easily fixable. I wonder what the problem is. It's probably in the back where you can't see it. My friend Dave in Antique Advertising has a large version of this, but unfortunately this one has been damaged long ago. Lacey Brewing with the dromedaries, and that's pre-prohibition. And I like this Hull vase here from the 50s. That's one of their gloss ones that I think worked with that keyhole. I thought that was a good design. This is Hull from the 40s, the harem dancer. This Fenton piece, this stretch vase as they call it, or swung vase, is the thumbprint pattern, and the ruby is a good color. What's nice about the Fenton vases is they didn't do a whole lot of their stuff in these designs, but the stuff they did, they picked good colors that were appropriate for the time. So I think that's a nice one, and it's a fair price of $49.95. I love the Fostoria heirloom, but they want $125 for the 3 pieces. And that's what I'd like to get for it. This is a 1980s, 90s reproduction picture. You see a lot with the cherries. It feels greasy like new glass. It's Vaseline opalescent. It'll glow. It's $125. Fine to buy it if you like it. Not saying there's anything wrong with that price, but it's not Victorian by any means. I see radios down here. Oh, wait, Halloween. German paper mache. They want retail price. Everybody knows this stuff is valuable, and they have some cute things. I especially like down here this really frightening jack-in-the-box for $29. And look how pretty these are. These are vintage. This one does appear to be as well. Let's see if they tell us any more about it. Well, they don't venture a guess, but I would say looking at the wear on the buttons and the overall effect that might date back 80 years, 90 years. These guys are happy to be alive. Lots of little pie birds. But again, there were a lot of reproductions done of those, so the fact that I'm seeing 4 in one place makes me concerned. These are Heisey geese. $35 for the pair is a very fair price now. There was a time these were very expensive. These were the animals that were destroyed by Jane Wyman in the Glass Menagerie, if you ever see that old movie. She does a very good job wiping out thousands of dollars worth of Heisey glass animals, including some really rare ones. They were new at the time, so of course they didn't think anything of it. I think that was 1952. This is really beautiful. What a wonderful sconce. You'd have to get the right shades for that. But these ram's heads are very interesting to me. It's priced at $325 for something as truly interesting. They say French. Very interesting piece. I like that a lot. I think if you had the right place for that, maybe mounted in a different way, that could be well worth spending $325 on. There's all sorts of different reasons to buy in the market, and decorators who are seriously wanting a focal point in an old house, they will pay money for things for aesthetic purposes that they really merit. I think this is aesthetically pleasing as well, this etagere with the cutouts. I like etagères. They're small. If you don't have a ton of collection to show, it's a lot smaller than a big china cabinet. This one's priced at $165. That should date sometime right around 1900, and they're usually pretty lightweight. If you're more into primitives, then perhaps pine is more your look. And this is a nice older piece again. See, it's got pegs as well. They're round rather than square, so newer than the chair we looked at. And they do stick out a little bit, but they've mainly been filed down because this piece has been sent over here and stripped. It's probably early 20th century Irish. Cute little bamboo plant stand. I like all this little occasional furniture, honestly, because it's a lot easier for people to find room for these little pieces. I spot another Seattle World's Fair item. Sometimes when you see something that you like, you just hone in on it. This looks like it's been faded in a dishwasher, though. Unfortunate. Fenton Spanish lace is a good pattern. This would glow under a black light, and it seems clean enough inside. Probably ought to grab that. Yes, I've probably been to these places. Interesting collection. They even have a big guidebook about it. I certainly have seen a lot of license plates traveling around this country. My uncle served in the Air Force in the Panama Canal. That's interesting to me. Okay, I have some big lucite lamps, but this wins. How much? It's $2,900, but that is massive. If you're looking for collectibles from the 80s, those lucite lamps, those are a good choice. So equal time for guys. There is some fun stuff in a booth like this. You'll see things that are more familiar to household, like kitchen scales, wooden pulleys, things people might use for other reasons indoors. But then you've got this really cool flares box. You know, if you're going to have an old workbench, why not have some cool old stuff with it? Especially if they're things you can use. And a lot of this stuff is usable. This guy seems to clean things up reasonably well. I mean, this hand auger is only $19. That's half of what you would pay to get one new, I imagine, these days. It's a 70s or 80s reproduction, but that is rather spectacular looking. Next to a very famous, truly old print for only $20 of the doctor coming to visit. Remember when the doctors made house calls and everyone was frantic because there was nothing they could do? I'm so happy to see a nice little collection of ultramarine swirl. I think this is one of the coolest depression glass patterns around. This is by Jeanette Glass. It came out in 1937 or 8. These are the candlesticks. It has a nice concentric ring and an outside swirl. Ultramarine is the color. They did do some of these pieces in a few other colors, but really the swirl in ultramarine is what's different because not many people made this color ever in glass. It comes and goes in decorating, but a lot of companies wouldn't tool up to do it, and so they really had the market to themselves, and they made really beautiful pieces, and the colors are great. So if teal is your color, then that might be something to look into because the prices are not bad these days. Well, I like little metal buildings. I've had collectors over the years. This is Sears Tower, back when it was Sears Tower. And there's the Space Shuttle, back when it was the Space Shuttle. So 2 more things for my pile of ephemeral items. These funky wire art cars from the 70s always amused me. Our baby boomer era fans will recognize Tennessee Tuxedo. And here's a whole bunch of other fun cartoon characters from the early 60s, all in bubble bath form. Soakies, they're called, generally, because that was the trade name, and yes, these are really fun. I wonder what their prices are on these. Seems to be about 15 to 20 a piece, which is about a collector price, and they're really fun. So's this bottle cap girl. And how much are you? Let's see what your jewelry tells me. It tells me that you are $13.95. Oh my goodness. That's one of those silly kitschy folk art things from the 60s. It's probably worth buying. Here's an old Studio Master light from the 1960s or 70s for $4.79. These are pretty good. They certainly still work. And they have a great look. So for props, if you really had a reason for a big strong light, might be fun. In this day and age, I can see some amateur videographer getting that. This is from when baseball was at its peak around 1960, $24.50. It's a pretty good deal for that set. Old sporting goods are actually pretty pricey generally. I'm used to seeing this out west because Hubert's shoe oil was made in McMinnville, Oregon, not far from the Lafayette Schoolhouse Antique Mall I used to be involved with. Unless these are a lot heavier than this. These are not from World War II. These are modern grave markers made of aluminum. I always like this magnet guy. I wonder what they want for him. He was by Whammo, who did frisbees and hula hoops and fun stuff. $24.95 for the Monster Magnet. Love's Paradise with the Mother and Child. Probably the most famous R. Atkinson Fox print, and certainly the most famous under his primary working name. He had several pseudonyms. On sale for $95. The color is really good. It's a good size. That seems like a good price for what it is. A current price. They used to sell for more than double that, of course, in that size. But a lot of those are in collections now. This metal owl piece is fabulous, and I think I might need to have it if it's at all old. It looks sort of like Hanover ware. And oh yeah, I absolutely will have this. $13.95, amazing. Okay, it's by Mascot. That was the other company. Their stuff wasn't quite as good quality as Hanover ware. It was a little more Me Too, but boy, this one hits it. 1970s owl. Yeah, you got it. I'm taking that for sure. This is also amazing in this space. Look at the Mack Bulldog from the headquarters building. That is just fantastic for $300. $30 for this Coca-Cola clock out of the early 80s. It's modern enough to sell. I see this guy occasionally around the Midwest. This was out of Pennsylvania, however, from Allentown. Very cool. $45. That one's in pretty good shape. One little bend on the horn, I see. And Prince Andrew was apparently going for the gusto in the 60s, as we know. This is cute, the original Mickey Mouse Club. Little stool here, and it is priced at a very fair $35. Very neat looking bunch of Nyland and other toys up here. I like the horse van especially. This is the price on this particular one. $229.99. $250. The Betty L is $150. But I really like this because I haven't seen this before. The Dux Condor helicopter. It looks like it's a 1960s patent, and it is $24.50. That might be a buy. Yeah, look at this interesting little kit here. It's from West Germany. The patent date equates to 2.9 million, which is around 1970. This thing is just really interesting to me. I'll take it. Zerelda, I'm sure she was very proud of her son. Here's another fabulous chandelier made of antlers. They have all the blocks segregated by letter. That's cute. Blocks are fun. They're only $1 a piece, too. Fun thing to collect. Spell words. Play with your kids. $85 on this quilt. Albany, New York. You always wonder how things get where they are. And then here is a button display from the 1930s. This one says it's 1780s. Let's see if we can determine. Now they determined that well. It does have square pegs. That's appropriate. It does look like they were made by hand. It's been restored because the pegs don't really stick out very much, and by the time something is old, they really should stick out more because they shrink along their grain. It is a little loose overall from shrinkage. The caning may have been redone at a previous time, or it may be original. Let's see if we can tell anymore looking underneath. It looks like it may have been trimmed with some sort of a modern instrument, so I think that has been redone. There's repairs on the back. It sits very low. Now the turnings, to my eye, look pretty uniform, but not identical. So it is definitely something that would be country furniture of an era. Could it be 18th century? It might. 18th century chairs sit so low that they're not selling very well these days because people were so much smaller. It's priced at $200. My guess is that this could have been made in any sort of country setting in the United States as late as 1850, though. These are very interesting. This is right about the time that colonialization is ending in Africa, and these are 1952 dated paintings by Tretyakov. One is the Zulu Maiden and one is the Basuto Girl. Both signed by the artist, priced at $175 each. Similarly good prices on the blue opalescent, $39 on the footed dish there. This one's priced down to $37.95, but this one's only $17.95 with the loop pattern. These people are definitely utilizing this space. They have Dixie Belle paint here. Oftentimes we see a space for that in a larger mall these days. This place is clearly going to be bigger than I'm going to be able to do in one visit, so please do like this video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment. It's always good to hear from you, and it's so much fun to bring these things to you and show you all the cool stuff that people have swirled around this big country of ours. And, well, to those of you from the rest of the world, we're really glad to show you what America has going in terms of antiques and vintage.
Thanks for joining me again in the fun and fascinating antique community here where online meets the real world. Please click the subscribe button below, click the bell to be notified when new videos upload, leave a comment below, and hit thumbs up to like this video. Links to our online social media and our items for sale are in the description. This is George at the Antique Nomad. Bye for now.